Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever and whenever you are. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to another RPG Basics video. This is part 23. I'm pretty sure it's part 23. And in this video, we're going to improve the dialogue system. So let's take a look here at what we'll be doing so you can see. I'm going to bring over the finished game right here. And you can see in this version, what we're going to do is we're going to replace attacking. So attacking used to initiate a dialogue. We're going to replace that with the dash attack button. But it's going to be contextual, which means it dashes when you're not by a sign, but when you come up to the sign, it does this sign. You can also see that when the words wrap around here, it wraps the word immediately. So instead of starting letters right here and then when it gets too far wrapping, it actually just says, oh, this word is going to cross over the line, so let's just wrap right away. And it looks much better. You can see that. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this. You'll also notice that this video has a slightly different format. That's because I moved. So for the past 2 weeks, I actually haven't had internet. I've had this video ready for a while, but I think this is going to be a better setup in the long run. I'm still working on some audio things to try and make sure that the audio is better, but I think the video overall is going to be better, and my videos are going to have better quality. So I'm excited for that. Let's get started. First, though, I do want to mention that if you want to, you can go to my website, which will have a link in the description. And there are links for coupons to both of my Udemy courses. There's one on pixel art and one on GameMaker. So probably most of you have already heard that before since you're on part 23 of this series, but you never know. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to switch it so that the dialogue initiates with the dash button instead of attacking. So the way that we're going to do this, we're going to come into our scripts and we're going to go into the player state script. We're going to open up the move state because this is where we initiate the dash attack. We're going to change the way this works right here, and I'll show you how we'll do that. So we're going to copy this section right here where it says object player status or object player stats.stamina is greater than dash cost. We're just going to do Control X, which will get rid of it. We're going to remove the double and sign there. Then inside of our dash if statement right here, we're going to do another if statement. This says if parentheses, because we're not going to write that one quite yet. Brackets, finish your brackets, else if parentheses, brackets, and then come to the end of this right here and finish your brackets. Now I'm going to select this right here and tab it over. And then I'm going to copy, Control V, what we had up here into here. So it's going to prioritize speaking over dashing. That's why we have if, else if. Now for our speaking, what we're going to do is we need to get some variables first. And the first variable we need to get is an x direction. So var xdir equals length dir x, and the length is going to be, this is the distance from the sign, so I'm going to do 8 because that seems to work, and then the direction is going to be face, which is the direction we're facing, but face, if you remember, is either 0, 1, 2, or 3, so we're going to do face times 90, which will convert that into an actual direction of 360 degrees. We're going to create another one called var ydir. This is going to be equal to length dir y 8 face times 90, just like the other one. Now we're going to do one last variable here, and it's going to be the speaker object that we're trying to initiate. So we're going to say var speaker equals instance place. Now instance place is just like place meeting, except that this will actually return the ID of the object, so we can get access to the other object. Okay, so place instance place x plus xter, y plus yder, object speaker. So we're going to check to see if there's a speaker there using instance place. If there is a speaker, this will return the ID of that speaker object. If there's not a speaker, this will return no one, which has a value of -4. So if speaker does not equal no one, then we want to talk to it. So talk to it. And then down here, we're going to say or dash. Okay. Well, how do we talk to the speaker? Well, we've already written that code. So let's go steal it. Come into the damage object right here. Go into the collision event with the object speaker. Open this up. And this whole code right here, this is how we talk to a speaker. So we're going to copy this right here. Control X. Because we don't need it in here anymore. And then we're going to do Control V. Now it's going to paste that kind of ugly, but if you select it like this, you should be able to tab it over and get it nice and tabbed just like it was before. But we're not in a collision event, so we can't use the other keyword. This only works inside of a collision event. So we're going to change that to speaker, because we have access to the speaker object's ID. We grabbed it right here. So then we can just access it and then do all this stuff. So we're going to press the green check mark there. And then in our damage object, we're going to delete the collision with the speaker because we've already moved that code. I just didn't want to delete it. I guess I did when I did Control X. But now we should be able to move and dash like this. When we come up to a sign, instead of dashing, it does that, but we're not colliding with the sign. It's interesting. So let's fix that real quick. I thought I gave the sign a collision. Modify collision shape. Yeah, it does have a collision. The speaker. Oh, it's because the speaker object needs to have a parent of the lifeform parent. Let's double check that and make sure. No, we can't use the lifeform parent. Oh, we can use a wall though. We can use the wall. So make sure the speaker object has a parent of the wall. The player object has to have a collision object, or has to have a collision event with the speaker, and it doesn't, and that's why we're not colliding with it. But the player object does have a collision with the wall because all life forms have collisions with the walls. So that's the best way to do that. Now we shouldn't be able to run through it. There we go. But you can see when we're near the sign that we can use the dash button to make the sign speak. But it still does the thing where it starts the word, and then when the word goes too far, it brings it down, which I think looks kind of ugly, which is why I wrote my nice, lovely script to fix that. So let's go in and fix that. This video is going to be a little bit longer because it's kind of a little bit of a process, and I want to explain it to you guys. So we're going to write a script. So create a new script and name it script string copy words. String copy words. Now this script is going to take a string, an index, and a count. And we'll talk about what those do. Var str equals argument 0. Var index equals argument 1. Oops. Argument 1. Var count equals argument 2. Actually, we're going to apply a function to the count. We're going to do a ceil. What this is going to do is it's going to always round this number up. And the reason is because our count might be an in-between number, but that we can't do that. It has to be a whole number. So we're going to round it. But ceil always rounds it up. So then we need var char, which is going to be an individual character in the string. We're going to say equals string char at, and then we're going to access the string that we passed in, and the position is going to be count. So we're going to get the character inside of the string that we passed in at position count. Then we're going to say while char does not equal a space, so I literally have quotations with an empty space there, and char does not equal an empty string, okay? Because string char at can return an empty string too. So we want to check to make sure that it doesn't equal an empty string. Then we're going to do count plus plus, so we're going to add to the count. And we're going to say char equals string char at. We're just updating the char variable. Or else our while loop will go on forever if we don't update it. So char at string count. There we go. Now we need a return value. And I think the easiest way to do this is var return str, which will just stand for return string. And we're going to get string copy str index count. Now, then lastly, we're going to return it. Return str. So what does this script do? Well, we pass in a string, and we pass in an index, which is technically the start of the string, where we want to start copying from. And then what we do is we get the character at count. And if that's not a space, or if it's not the end of the string, then we continue to add to count, which basically means if we're in the middle of a word, then we're going to continue to add to our count until we're not in the middle of a word anymore. So it's only going to copy the section of the string that is whole words. So we're going to make sure we copy whole words. Okay? Now that we have that, the rest of this is a little bit easier. So we're going to go into our dialog object, pretty sure. So come into the dialog object here. And we're going to go into the draw GUI event. And we're going to make this more complicated than it is. So I'm going to add some comments to try and help, because this is going to be a little bit tricky. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is grab this where we add to the count. Okay, grab that, Control X, and we're going to paste it down at the very bottom. So we're going to say add to the count, and we're going to paste it here, Control V. And we're doing that because we're changing the order that we add to the text count, and it's important. Dealing with strings can be really order can be really important. So then we're going to do is we're going to get the last space. So we need to get the last space that we know of. So we're going to say if string char at text page text count is equal to space, then last space equals text count. Okay, and if we go into our speaker object, you could go into the create event of the speaker object and create this variable last space, but technically we're initializing it here, and GameMaker is a little bit more lenient about that than it used to be, so it works this way as well. Then we're going to add smart returns. So this is going to make our returns smart. Var text words equals script string copy words, and we're going to copy in text page at starting at location 1 and going to text count. Okay, so we're getting a copy of the string that only contains words. It contains whole words. Then we're going to say if string width text words is greater than or equal to width minus margin times 2, then remove the space because we're at a space. We know we're at a space. Text page string delete text page last space. So we're not technically at a space, we're accessing the last space that we got. And then 1, because we're only deleting one index value, and we need to set this to equal to equals. Then we're going to add a return. So we're doing our own returning in this. We're basically, remember how we do draw text ext and it's smart and it does returns for us? We're writing our own return system now. We're trying to be smart. We got to do it ourselves. So we're going to say text page equals string insert. And this thing that we're going to insert is a return character. Text page, that's the string that we're going to enter it into, right? Which we've been accessing this whole time. And then last space, so we're going to insert it into where the last space known was. Then what we need to do is we need to we've already done this part, but I'm just going to add some comments. Get the visible text right here. And we're just going to use the actual text right here because we've already modified it right here. This is already added in the smart returns. Then we're going to get the text, update the text location. And then lastly, we're going to draw the text. And I'm pretty sure you don't need to use draw text ext anymore, but I am anyways because it doesn't hurt. So now let's run the game and make sure that we did that. That was a lot of stuff. Let's make sure it works. Unknown variable get text words. Text words abort. Okay. Let's come into the draw GUI. Text roads. Okay, I just spelled it wrong right here. Simple mistake. Let's run it again. And let's try this. Okay. Warning, slimes ahead. Proceed with caution. If you go, you will surely die. Sweet. And it does the smart returns now where it doesn't go off. So what we do here, let me explain this because it is really complicated. So we're taking the text that we originally wanted to display right here, and we're running it through our script. And this script will give us out a text that contains the words. So if it says welcome to the village, and our text count is halfway through village, but it's not finished yet, text words will contain welcome to the village completed, with village the word completed. Okay? So we're getting whole words. It's kind of rounding up to the nearest word. That's a good way of explaining it, right? But it's silly to say it that way. But it's rounding up to the nearest word. So then, once we've done that, we can check the width and make sure that it isn't too long. But if it is too wide, then we remembered where the last space was. So basically the last word. And we're going to delete that space and put a return there and just return the last word down. And all of this happens before we ever draw it to the screen, so that we don't have to worry about the viewer seeing this, because we don't want them to see the word going past the width and then dropping down, because that looks ugly. So it all happens behind the scenes before they ever see it. So anyways, I wrote this, and there may be more efficient ways to do this, but I thought this was a pretty good way to do it, and it works really well and makes it look quite a bit nicer. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and learned something from it, and I will talk to you guys later.